This is a story all about how my life got turned, flipped upside down. We have the Fresh Prince, Philip Rowe, taking on gifted Gabe Green. And listen, we consider this in the intro of the UFC 258 card a possible fight of the night. And this is a low-key banger. This is a hipster's pick. Put on your horn-rimmed glasses. Get ready for this one because it should be a highly competitive fight at welterweight between two really gifted prospects. I really do think highly of Gabe Green. And if you have a look at his record, 9-3 so far, he had a really long layoff of almost 2 years between his fight back against Richard Leroy, who was 7-0 at the time, finished him, and then his fight on short notice taking on D-Rod, Daniel Rodriguez. In that fight, gave a pretty good account of himself. He put out some really good boxing, some very high output numbers. Unfortunately for him, he was out volumed by a great striker. For the Fresh Prince, Philip Rowe, you go back and look at his record. 7-2 overall. Both of these guys combined, all of their wins are by finish, which is very impressive. And then if you look at Philip Rowe's last fight against not Edmund, but Leon Shabazian, a guy that both of these men have fought and both of them have finished, Philip Rowe, it was really a battle of attrition in that fight.
It really was. And it was a back and forth battle if ever there was one. Philip Rowe, here's the thing. Now, it's great news because we have this as a fight of the night. And this is a great skill if you want to be involved in fight of the nights. He doesn't have great striking defense. And if you go back to that Leon Shabazian fight, he does get lit up. And it's something, again, this is an issue that a lot of fighters have. So it's not really like we're giving Philip Rowe a hard time for it. When he gets his back up against the cage, defensively, he does leave quite a bit to be desired. He just gets kind of hesitant, really. And he doesn't know which direction to take. And again, it's a problem that a lot of fighters have. Some of the best fighters in the world still have this issue. But if you go back to the Shabazian fight, he kind of gets froze up against the cage and cracked the big shot. Now, yes, he does kind of get dropped. It's one of those weird Paulo Costa did he not go down. But once he does kind of recalibrate, he's able to come back in that fight. And the great thing about Philip Rowe in that fight was he got stronger as the fight went on. And that fight, yes, he got the stoppage in the third round. He was close to getting the stoppage at the end of the second round, but he was just able to outlast Shabazian as that fight progressed. He was the one who got hurt. He outlasted that big storm that came in that first round and started to do really well as the fight progressed. And kind of the same thing with Gabe Green against Daniel Rodriguez in his last fight. D-Rod started off really well. He's got big power. He's that big southpaw that we all know. But as the fight did progress, and again, I thought he was going to destroy Gabe Green in that fight, but as the fight kept on going on, you were like, okay, Gabe Green, he's not out of there yet. And yes, he's taking damage, but it's not like he was getting dropped in every round. And you could tell his confidence was starting to build as that fight progressed. And it was a very similar situation. Now, yes, he wasn't able to rally to the point where he stopped Daniel Rodriguez.
And yes, he lost 3 by 30-27.
And that's fine. But when you look at all those rounds individually, you could make a case for him winning the third round. Now, yes, that would be the only round that was even close, but I do like the fact that he was able to rally back and start to do well as the fight progressed against such a dangerous guy like Daniel Rodriguez.
And when I look at Philip Rowe's overall record, this is something that we don't see all that often out of fighters that fight maybe a lesser level competition. I mean, if you go back to, he loses his first 2 pro fights and he's on a 7-fight win streak. So out of the wins, he gets a finish over a fighter that's 0-1. Well, at the time he was 0-2, it made sense. A win and a finish over a guy that was 1-1, then 0-1, then 0-3, then 1-2, then 4-5. And then he fights Leon Shabazian. The thing that I like out of Philip Rowe was if he's fighting in 2017, there's 2 of them. He wins those by finish. He wins 2 fights in 2018. He wins the first one in 2019 and gets a finish win over Leon Shabazian. But from 2017 to 2019, second round, first round, second round, I would normally worry about the gas tank of a guy like that. And then he rallies in that Shabazian fight and showed that he had a gas tank. Even though he got taken down by Shabazian, he was able to reverse position in certain spots. With Philip Rowe, yes, his striking defense might not be the best, or we haven't seen really the best of it. And it was unfortunate in 2020 that he drew a goose egg. He was matched up against Laureano Staropoli, had to withdraw. He was booked against Cole Williams, but the card was scrapped due to the pandemic. Man, a fight against Cole Williams would have been a good one for him. And then he was booked back in August to take on Matt Semmelsberger. Rowe withdrew out of that one. Semmelsberger ended up drawing Carl Minus, who's no longer in the UFC. Semmelsberger looked great, but that would have been a good opportunity as well for Philip Rowe to take on Semmelsberger. That would have been a competitive fight. I think that would have been a fight a lot similar to this one, too. So ultimately, we get Philip Rowe against Gabe Green. Now, I might have sounded like I was negative on Philip Rowe from the jump. Let me tell you what I like about this guy. We've talked about certain fighters like Sung Woo Choi when he took on Yusuf Zalal. Did we pick the fight wrong? Yes, but we said, look, Sung Woo Choi, a lot of pressure, a really good right hand, a really good right high kick. What did Sung Woo Choi do? Exactly that. Philip Rowe has a great right hand, and he shoots it out there really fast. He has very, very good strikes. The other thing that Philip Rowe does very, very well, when he has opponent even somewhat hurt, this is kind of similar to like a Jeff Neal. He takes the approach that I know exactly when I can dart in and go to finish a fight. I love that out of Philip Rowe. The other thing that I like, not all of his strikes are right side dependent. He can kind of switch it up a little bit, but he throws a really nice left high kick. I think that could really help him in this fight.
And that's a really important point too, because for Philip Rowe, he has a massive reach advantage in this fight. And if he does go into this fight just relying on, oh, I'm going to get in range and land that big right hand, he might actually do Gabe Green's job for him, because Gabe Green is going to have to close the distance at some point. So for Philip Rowe, it will be interesting. If Gabe Green is able to slip some of the counters of Philip Rowe, he's going to leave himself wide open, and we might end up with one of those Michael Chandler, Dan Hooker knockouts where you have the smaller guy able to close that distance, get on the inside of Philip Rowe's range. It will be really interesting, because for Philip Rowe, he is going to need the jab. He's going to need some sort of a front kick, just some sort of range-finding tools, or kind of those jabbing weapons, if you will, against a guy like Gabe Green, because Green is going to have to get on the inside. Now, for Green, it will be interesting. Is he going to go for the takedown? Is he going to use leg kicks to try to chop down Philip Rowe as the fight progresses? Because for Philip Rowe, really other than the Shabazian fight, he never faced any adversity. And we talk about his record. He did not fight the best level of competition on his way up. But you do have to appreciate the fact that he was absolutely destroying all of those guys when he should. Because when you are a guy making his way to the UFC, or you are about to go on Contender Series, I'd hope you can finish a guy who is 1-2, 2 fights before that. Gabe Green, I think, is a very interesting puzzle for Philip Rowe to solve. I think the power might give Philip Rowe some issues. And again, I'm curious to see who has the better cardio out of these two guys, because both of them did have kind of a similar performance in their last fight, where they both faced early adversity. Now, again, with Green, was he able to fully overcome Dana Rodriguez? No, but he definitely did improve as the fight progressed. So it will be interesting to see who is able to make the adjustments as this fight keeps on going into that late second, early third round.
If you want to play MMA math, Gabe Green took Leon Shabazian's O in the first round, knocked him out. But if you do, again, if you want to look level competition, he beat 7-0 Richard Leroy back in 2018. Didn't take a fight till 2020, so I guess it was almost a 2-year layoff there. Javier Garcia, 3-0. Chris Padilla, who we know and love with Bellator, who's 9-2. Ivan Castillo, 14-7. Leon Shabazian has a loss to Jalen Turner back in 2017. Bellator's owner, the former Bellator fighter as well, now in the UFC. So again, the big knock against Gabe Green, you can out-volume him if you're a really good striker. So Philip Rowe, if he just continues to be busy, there's an opportunity there. Gabe Green doesn't have the best defensive wrestling. You might be able to exploit that. And for Philip Rowe, we saw him in the exchanges with Leon Shabazian where he was able to pull a reversal. He was able to kind of grapple with a guy that you'd expect to at least have half-decent wrestling when you know the credentials of his brother, and at least you know the striking credentials of the Shabazian brothers with Edmund Tarverdian.
One of the greats.
Having that back pocket, the fact that you've trained with Ronda Rousey. But overall in this fight, I think it's a great one. If we look at the Tapology votes, Matt, I was surprised. 648 or 645 of them. 75% Rowe, 49% by decision, 38% by knockout. If you have a look over at the odds, Gabe Green open a -145 favorite, now -114. For Philip Rowe, open +125. He's now at a +110. I might have tipped my hand a little early on this one, but I like Gabe Green in this fight just based on the volume. I like his head movement. I like his movement on the feet. He's always doing something. And you see a lot of guys that in MMA, if they're boxing, they keep their head on that center line. Like the knock against Carol Hossa before a fight with Jocelyn Edwards was the fact that her head's always on that center line. She'll throw combinations, but she's always moving forward. Gabe Green's always moving his feet. He moves his head now. He can definitely get caught by that kick, and he can get himself in trouble. So if Philip Rowe was to knock him out, I wouldn't be overly surprised. To me, this is a pop and popcorn fight. I love it. I'm going to go with the underdog here in Gabe Green.
So I will side slightly with Gabe Green. Now, again, I think you did lay out a pretty good path for how Philip Rowe can win this. He's got the nice high kick. He does have good power on his shots. He could catch Gabe Green, especially on the way in, because that's the big key for Gabe Green. How is he going to initiate his offense? Because he will have to get past that humongous reach of Philip Rowe. Because it is wild. You don't see 80-inch reaches all that often, unless you are talking about like a light heavyweight or a heavyweight.
Like Mike Rodriguez, John Jones. Doesn't happen all that often.
There's not that many, so it really is. That's a big thing that you're going to have to get around. I do like Gabe Green in this fight. It is surprising that the Tapology votes are so much different than the actual odds themselves, because normally the favorite would have more votes on Tapology. Interesting to see where everyone's so confident with Philip Rowe, but I do agree. I like Gabe Green.
Don't bring up the Tapology votes. They don't mean anything. It's good to see the difference between the odds. It's a good talking point, Matt. We're both siding with the underdog in this fight, going with Gabe Green to get the win, but overall, this should be a great fight. We got a great card coming up. Rodolfo Vieira's taking on fluffy Anthony Hernandez. In our main event, we've Kamaru Usman looking to defend his belt, taking on the one and only Gilbert Burns. So, Matt, really looking forward to this one. Keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks, and as we always say, let's get into it.